activate them on command, and the fact that you have to have the brain power to recognize all 5 charge times.
Yep.
It's a lot to think of. But once again, these high ceiling characters, they have so much advantageous play style. Once you get ahead in stock, that character's dangerous.
Yeah, there's so many layers to fighting Shulk,
Right.
and it's difficult to boil him down to his parts because it's like you have to look at his normals. You have to figure out like what's really threatening here with these normals, and then you have to look at the Monado arts.
Right.
And you have to figure out when are these arts going to be threatening me? How is SoulArts going to use them? And I think the biggest change to all of this is how instead of it being a consistent pattern of pressing this neutral special to get to a specific point on the wheel, they've just outright added a wheel for you to activate. So you can actively switch between different parts of the Monado arts very quickly. And I've talked with SoulArts extensively about this. You can use this in a way to affect heavily how someone's comboing it. Because you can go between the shield art, which is known for drastically reducing any knockback Shulk takes.
Well, he becomes basically a heavy.
Yeah.
As far as knockback's concerned.
Yeah, as far as the knockback goes, he's taking a lot less knockback.
Sure.
But say for instance, he starts out in a combo with shield, and then he moves to smash.
Right.
And smash art, the whole trade-off is that you deal heavy knockback, but you also take heavy knockback.
Sure.
When you're at low percentages, this makes a big difference because you're not worried about dying at 12%.
Right.
Like, under normal circumstances, this is perfectly fine. You switch to smash art, all of a sudden you're out of a low percentage combo.
Right.
And those are the kind of things that you have to think about as a Shulk player, but also think about when you're fighting Shulk. You're like, my combo can just fall apart at any point. So you have to be very cognizant of what's going on with Shulk on the screen while maintaining your pressure. Otherwise, you let him get away with criminal murder.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not wrong there. And it just, like you said, takes so much skill and really thought and insight because you can be taking damage, become quote-unquote heavy, get one offensive move in your favor, switch to smash art, and go back and forth. Speed art's there. What are some of the other ones that he has?
We got jump art and we have
Jump
buster
art, right.
So jump art we're going to see plenty of.
Sure.
It's one of the favorites on SoulArts' kit, mostly because it can be used very defensively and offensively. It's probably the most versatile of the arts.
Okay.
It gives him a really good single hop. It gives him additional lift on his air slash, his up B.
Sure.
And with how strong Shulk's aerials are in this game, in that they're very fast now compared to what they once were, it's not as big of a commitment switching to jump art. He can switch into jump. He can go on the offensive or defensive. And he was always accustomed to doing that.
You know, he also has a Roy in his back pocket. Roy is very good, but he'll start things off in speed art here. SoulArts on the Shulk. Really one of the only ones we see. Don't see him quite often.
Yeah, Shulk is not a very popular character because of how complex he is.
But SoulArt makes him look sick.
He does. He does a good job of showing what's good with the character. And I feel like if people dedicate themselves to the character the way that SoulArts has,
right,
you get to see the success that SoulArts has. He's a player who's really been heavy on the come-up in Smash 4, and a lot of it's just blossomed forward in Smash Ultimate. And we're going to be seeing that against one of Long Island's premier defenders. Here at AON, we call them the Big Three, where either Mr. E, Vinny, or DeBuzz are in attendance. It's almost guaranteed that one of them is winning.
Right, okay.
So if there's someone to knock down into loser's bracket early on and really prove your mettle, it's doing it here against
Mr. E. Right, and you're right. We saw him. They took the doubles bracket, right?
Yes.
With Vinny and Mr. E. As we see here, and so far already, I mean, SoulArt, he changes mid combination. He's so familiar, and even from 2 weeks ago when I saw him take, actually he lost to PK Chris at that Waypoint tournament, but I can just see he's already moving much better and changing a lot more. He looks very comfortable here, and Shulk this time around, and there's that shield art that you talked about before, Hangman.
Yeah, SoulArts is the type of player where like he has high highs and low lows. He's very much like his own worst opponent.
100% agree.
So, like, when he's feeling himself, when he's calm, collected, and he's focused...
Oh, he's a problem.
He truly is. That's,
right.
that's the best way to put it, man, because he'll be all over his opponent, and then he'll just peel and just wait out the game as best as he can.
And, you know, one thing, granted, young player, might not have that mental strength, that mental fortitude here. I saw it a ton. That week that he had lost to PK Chris was that exact situation. You saw him dominating, play so confident, was stance switching perfect, went up a little bit. The minute PK Chris started playing defensive, punishing and shutting him down, you just saw his mental game wear away.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you see it often in players where like they get into their own heads and it affects their momentum. But over time, SoulArts has been getting better with getting himself back in the zone. Whether or not he's getting himself like back to that like high remains to be seen. But game one, a bit of a flop for him as Mr. E is going to be taking it with very little worry.
And this is the stuff that I'm worried about. You see it already in the posture. Slumped shoulders, back on the chair, not enthused, knew he messed up. The question is he going to have that mental fortitude right now? Like you said, he's growing with it. Will he be able to put it behind him? Because we didn't see too much there. He started out in victory, started out in lead, got the first stock. But after that, it was just a plummet.
Yeah, sometimes it's like, I've seen SoulArts grow for a long time.
Right.
I've spoken to the kid for a while. And sometimes he just gets into his head, and that's that. But there's other times where like he snaps back to reality and is like, all right, I know I do this to myself.
Right.
He gets himself back to ground zero, and then he just cements himself in the game and can bring it back. Game 2 is going to bring us to Town and City, once again starting with the speed art. And it's very likely that SoulArts can find himself back in a position where he can get the lead on Mr. E, hold on to it, and if he does manage to take this game 2, just like that, he'll be fine. It just goes to show like how heavily he could swing as a player, but when he gets himself into the right state of mind, he's someone to look out for.
I think as the game progresses and as the community builds and sees, I think Shulk is going to wind up in the later years rising as one of the characters that we see really coming out, because this is much too high of a skill set character to really see true justice from right away. Longest sword in the game?
It's one of.
Definitely, it's close. But so far, Mr. E has gotten the best of SoulArts, even in the second set. 112% on SoulArt E, sitting around 50. 7-10 remaining in this one. Good activation of the Buster art from Soul. Nice parry.
You know, we spent plenty of time talking about SoulArts, but Mr. E is another one of those players who he can swing with momentum super heavily.
Right.
But it's sort of like the inverse to what we deal with SoulArts. With Mr. E, he fights on the back heel really well. He's the comeback kid. If you find him at a deficit, you could all of a sudden see him spring to action and play better than he was when he had a lead. That's just the style of player that Mr. E is, has been, and probably always will be. And Martha's the kind of character that could benefit that style of play really well.
That's very good stuff coming out from Mr. E. And like you said, it seemed that he was losing that first set, came back and won it. And now he's putting the foot to the throat as he's up a stock. And he's already got SoulArt sitting on 40%. So one of the things I noticed, SoulArt was he was using that back air quite a bit in the previous weeks. A lot, I mean, and really like doing it a lot. Now we're seeing it a little bit less. There it is, a lot more on the, ooh, great job there by SoulArts to tie things up. He needed that one.
Yeah, I think the presence of certain moves and the way that players approach certain characters, it's still a matter of them adjusting to the new game, because at least in Smash 4, back air was a much different move for Shulk. He would swing his sword in a way where he would have the hitbox towards his hilt on like the glowy part of the blade,
right?
Which of course sits much closer in on Shulk, meaning it was a bit safer for him to use. But now it's a lot more streamlined of a hitbox. It's first of all, it is just a lateral hitbox. It's no longer like a check mark.
Sure.
But on top of that, it doesn't extend into him as much.
Boy.
So it's not as safe as a poking tool.
Great use there. We saw SoulArt activate the smash art mid-recovery from Mr. E, being able to put it away. And there's the defensive to basically hold the fact that he's sitting on 124%, using it as a big hold, but that's gone now. Will Mr. E be able to bring it on back? He's only at 4%, still right here in it. All right, 5:04 remaining on the clock. Mr. E has this first set in his favor. Only Marth we've seen so far in the day.
Yeah, this character's sort of fallen out of style, and there are a few Marth and Lucina players still on Long Island.
Right.
Like if there is any one of them for us to see in bracket today, he is the one to see.
Well, I'm glad we're seeing it. SoulArts though doing much better this second set. He's got 40% now, sitting on Mr. E. And that shield is already back up, now sitting on 50%. Activating the speed, coming on in, trying to get something going here. But just like that, Mr. E's going to bring it on back. It's still anyone's game. Nice parry coming out from Mr. E.
You're going to try to find something out of it, but not able to connect the jabs just because of the Angel Platform invincibility. And SoulArts sitting with a little bit of a lead here, but this is what I was talking about earlier. Look how focused he is. Look how his posture has changed. This is when he's really feeling himself. But also look at the deficit that E sits on. This is where he starts to play like he does not want to lose. Like he never wants to see the other character on the win screen.
Man, he's got the foot to the throat. However, Mr. E does have the rage factor in his favor. It is 90% on Mr. E, now 102. So SoulArts is playing so much better. And a great, talk you brought that up there. The change in the posture. Sitting up now, head up, not slouched, not slumped. And so far, he's been getting the better of Mr. E, and what a better person to take out to build some confidence.
Yeah, even just bringing this to a game 3 is going to resolve a lot of that doubt that he came into this game 1 with.
It's not over yet, though, Hangman. Oh, smash art coming out. Ooh. That's the power of Shulk. Instant transition, on the fly, reads the situation, and even in a trade scenario, winds up walking away with the victory.
Now, in the past, SoulArts has managed to fight decently well against E, but E is probably the closest that you can call to a bracket demon of sorts for SoulArts.
Ah, so he's
like
been taking them.
Yeah, like out of the top players,
right?
Like SoulArts has gotten very close to beating some. He has beaten some, but E is always the one that's like the wall in front of him.
Okay.
And SoulArts, it's not even like him playing bad. Sometimes, yeah, he'll flounder about, and you can see it in his play.
Sure.
And you can see it in him. Other times, he'll play his heart out, and you once again you see it in his play. You see it in himself, and most of the time, it just hasn't been enough, but who knows? Maybe the way that the set has been going, SoulArts can swing this momentum into his favor. This Game 3 brings us to Battlefield.
Well, he's got it so far. Coming off the win is always really helpful. However, Mr. E starting to get the first bit of damage. Almost looked like a bare mechanical error there. 4B punishment coming out from Mr. E. And now SoulArts trying to get something going here.
He's got the Buster Art on, but not sitting in advantage is always the big detriment of Buster Art, because once you activate it, you got to make the most of it, because he takes just as much damage as he deals. And with very little effort, he's already built up to 73% and counting. SoulArts having to fight off a deficit really early on into this, just the first 30 seconds of the match.
Yeah, big punish there. And so far, SoulArts not only having trouble getting back off the ledge, and that's going to do it, and that really hurts. SoulArts has got to be able to recover here. Goes right into the speed, and this could be exactly what he wants going against E.
But sometimes SoulArts returns to the stage with backslash, and I know he does it for the lulls, but I hate when he does that stuff in serious sets, man. Mostly because something like that happens.
You cannot do that, and it almost looks like SoulArts there on that one just gave up, because look at it. You could just see not the same mental focus, not the same intensity. It's 3-1 now, and that's much different than 2-1, even with a high percentage lead.
Immortal words, man. It's not over till it's over, and it's very much over now.
Jeez, that was a total breakdown.
I hate seeing it happen to him.
Yeah, I mean, and you know what though? I hope that this is something where he goes back, he watches that game. You got to watch that game. You got to watch that game, because
he watches back the VODs all the time.
Good, and you need to, because he's got to recognize that his own worst enemy is himself, right? And if he could change that, we saw that second set, played phenomenal, looked focused the entire time, played a totally different game, and he won it.
Yes.
But then stuff like the first set, he lost a life. 2 lives there in the last set. That stuff really hurts.
Yeah, but unfortunately, that's what we've come to see out of SoulArts. It's like he'll either play it dominantly,
right,
or he'll just play himself.
Totally polarizing.